Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm going to do a video today that's a little more atypical of what I usually do. Obviously, I usually fish for bass mostly and then also crappie, but today I actually did a white bass video. Was out just fishing and I heard that the white bass really started picking up. We were getting into fall time transition season and continued throwing the KVD 1.0 crankbait from Strike King and just started reeling it much faster, and that oftentimes triggers white bass to hit. Now these are very aggressive fish. They school up in huge schools and they are a ton of fun to catch. And they're really good eating too. A lot of people don't know that. They make very good fillets. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Little break from bass fishing, though I have plenty of those coming up as well. Now, not to be confused with the hybrid or the striper, the white bass still has the lateral lines along its scales, but the fish comes in much smaller than the previous two. This one here is actually a much bigger one. This one probably came in around 15-16 inches. It was much bigger than you normally catch, as they average around 10 to 12 inches. I mean, they're beautiful fish and great eating, as I mentioned before. They do have a little bit of a red stripe that comes in when you fillet the fish. The meat comes off and you will see a red stripe. We usually try to cut that out because it just does have a little bit of a muddy taste to it. But if you get that, you get a beautiful fillet off those things, and they're great eating. Now in those last few clips, I was fishing in only about 2 foot of water, or maybe a little bit less. Here I'm fishing with a 4 to 6 foot drop off. These fish, whenever they're in the area, you pretty much know it because they'll start breaking the surface, and it looks pretty vicious. If you throw a buzzbait and you don't get hit by any bass, there's a really good chance that they are white bass underneath. Now they're just out chasing threadfin shad or any kind of bait fish for that matter that they can get a hold of, and that's what I'm using this particular bait because it's obviously a really good replica of what they're out there chasing. When they hit, it's a very aggressive bite. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and sometimes they'll like to take the pole out of your hands, and most of the hits that you get are actually really close to the boat, or if you're fishing off the bank, really close to the bank, and it's when the bait starts coming up. You know, and this example coming up here, it's actually at the end of a cast, but don't be surprised whenever a fish hits it right at the boat when you're doing this, because they will take the pole right out of your hands if you're not careful. Another white. All right. It's really typical to actually catch these fish in turbulent water, whether it be below a spillway. A bridge. Bridges are really great because they force a bottleneck, and that's where the wind breaks through, and you have a bunch of waves crashing through and a lot of bait fish around. And it causes a feeding frenzy for a ton of fish, but white bass, I mean, if they're in the area, they're going to take over. And if there's a bunch, if you're fishing for bass and you're into a bunch of white bass, you may as well just forget about it and move on over. But this time of the year, they were still in transition, and they hadn't really gotten out on the bridges yet. I plan on doing a video really soon, bank fishing from a bridge, to show you that you can catch them just as easily from there, and how much fun it really is. I mean, it's a ton of fun on light gear. Well, as always, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I am still trying to get much better at making these things for you guys. I wanted to have a little break in here, and like I said, I've been doing a ton of bass fishing here lately, and sometimes you need to do this. You just need to go out and have a really good time catching another kind of species of fish, or especially if you're wanting to get some meat for the freezer. I didn't keep any of these today, but I will once I start really catching these things. I am planning on keeping a mess of these fish. They're unbelievable fish to eat, and I hope maybe even do a video on how to cook them. I think it'll come out really well. So, like I said, I hope you really enjoyed this, and I look forward to bringing you some more videos here really soon. Thanks for watching, guys.